Embrace your deepest fear and you will be free from fear. Have you ever noticed that we live in a world of polarity and that every time you have a goal, every time you want something, you by default also bring in the opposite of it. Everything has a plus and a minus. So let's say you meet somebody, right, and you're the greatest love of your life, but at the same time, the moment you meet your greatest love, you also meet your greatest fear. Because the moment you fall in love with them, now you become afraid that they don't love you back, that they might leave you, that you may lose them, that something will happen, and that you'll be without them. And there you go, you have that polarity of that desire and the opposite of it. And let's be honest, the what if, that greatest fear, that worst case scenario that our mind is so good at bringing into our consciousness, into our worries, holds us back so much. Because energetically, if we are like a container and we want to manifest our big dreams, our aspiration, we want that relationship, that person that's going to make us feel so amazing. But at the same time, we are so scared of the opposite. Energetically, we cannot hold that vision because we are going to block the manifestation of what we want, the creation of it, because of our fear. And that happens so often. You see people who know exactly what they want, they have big dreams, aspiration, goal, they put everything aside. You know, they want that relationship, they want that business, they want that success, but they don't want to deal with the possibility of not having it, or having it and losing it. And this brings so much, it almost like makes us terrified in a certain way. And it makes a lot of us settle without the goal, or to settle for something in between where we feel comfortable. Energetically, we feel safe even if we lose it. So it's not the person I really want to in my life, but it's a good person, it's not a bad person, it's not a bad relationship. And if I lose it, I'll be sad, but whatever, I'll still be okay. So energetically, we settle for situations that we can handle if we lose them. It's very subconscious. But if you want to rise to manifest and create that vision that you have, you need to be a container that is able to hold that opposite energetically. What do I mean by that? It means that if you want to create a big successful business, if you want to create that promotion, if you want to be on top of the game, if you want to have that great relationship, you need to be able to feel safe even if it doesn't work out, even if you get it and you lose it, even in that worst case scenario possibility that your mind creates that scares you. Not because it will happen, most likely, most often it never happens, the worst case scenario. But it still bothers us, it still prevents us, it still blocks us from going forward. But the moment you can train yourself to just feel safe, or I feel okay, I will survive, I can handle that, now that fear dissipates. Because if you teach your nervous system that no matter what, even if this happens, I'll be safe, or I can handle it, or I'll find a way, it loses its power over you. And now your emotional container has expanded enough so that you can welcome what you want, because you are also welcoming the possibility of the opposite. Because let's face it, everything has a polarity, everything has an opposite, and there's always a possibility of things going either way. And so this is so important, because the moment energetically where you increase your capacity to handle the worst case scenario, it doesn't hold as much power on you. Meaning your fear will lessen. The impact it has on you will lessen. Again, it doesn't mean that it will happen, but you train yourself energetically to expand your nervous system, to expand how much you can handle. That's why they say people who are in charge are able to handle the responsibility of that position. People who have to make tough decisions and deal with the impact, whether it goes good or bad, have to be able energetically to handle the responsibility of that load, of that position. And many people will not go to the top, or will not like the promotion they have, because they feel like all of a sudden it's too much stress. I don't want so much responsibility. I cannot handle it. I'm burning out. I'm emotionally overwhelmed. It's too much for me. what does that all mean? It means they cannot handle the downside, or they don't know how to handle the downside, or energetically and emotionally, they don't know how to deal with it. And so they definitely don't want to rise on top of it, because they know that where they are right now is already taxing them too much. And so they settle for something else. So we have to train ourselves to become emotionally fitter, if that makes sense. And when you become emotionally fitter and you can feel safe, this is all about teaching your body that you are safe no matter what. That being out of the comfort zone, that even in the event, even in the unlikely event, even in the hypothesis of something going wrong, you'll be fine, you'll be okay. So how do we do that? Well, let's say you want that, I don't know, that relationship, right? That special person in your life. But at the same time, right now, you feel like, oh my God, I had somebody like that in my life and it didn't work out, or they betrayed me, or something happened and I lost them and I was heartbroken, and you're afraid of going back there. So think about whatever it is that you really, really want and ask yourself, what is the worst case scenario? What is the opposite of that? And I'm sure very quick something will come to your mind. And then notice how that feels in your body. Notice if you start to feel some tightness, some fear, some anger, some resentment, some pain, some suffering, something will come up emotionally. And then the way you expand emotionally your container is by allowing yourself to feel those sensations. By allowing, not resisting, because what you resist persists and you'll move away from it, and you try your whole life to move away from it, when really all you have to do is to embrace it, face it, and allow and teach your body that you are safe, even with feeling the fear, feeling whatever it is that it brings into you. So I made a video on letting go, and I will link it somewhere, or up and down, whatever. So I encourage you to go and watch that video on how to let go of negative emotions as they arise. But simply the process is to feel into the sensation that comes up into your body. Allow yourself to feel however the worst case scenario will feel, until you get to that place where you can actually feel safe, where you can actually feel like somewhat neutral. So it can help if you can use that sentence, I am safe, I'm secure, I can handle it. Whatever works for you that can help you, release and relinquish that feeling. And as you do so, you will be free from that emotion. Now, of course, you don't want that worst case scenario to happen. I get it. And this is not about, oh, it's going to happen. No, what we're doing here is expanding your ability to handle emotions, which prepares you, then makes you a container to be able to welcome also the positive of it. Because now, subconsciously, you will not hold yourself back in order to avoid that feeling of fear, or in order to avoid that feeling of loss, or in order to avoid whatever the worst case scenario may bring. So I know this is a little bit of out of the box thinking, but life gives us only what we are ready to handle. And if we're not ready to handle the stress or the overwhelm or the possible fear or the possible loss or whatever, we will block ourselves from going there. Because the mind will do whatever it can to avoid pain and, if possible, seek pleasure. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Try it out. See what is it that I really want? What is the opposite? And see what it brings. And simply allow yourself to tap into that feeling, tap into that sensation, and letting go, and find yourself safe into feeling that, into releasing and surrendering that emotion. And see what happens. I'll see you in my next video, guys. Be well.